So look, I'm not the biggest fan of Kind of Funny games or whatever, but every now and then, when they have a good guest, I listen to the Kind of Funny podcast, okay? And I have been listening to their recent episode, or one of the recent episodes, where they had Adam Boyes as a guest, right? And he's like an industry veteran, he's a consultant for video games, and he spoke about one thing that really stuck with me. He said that he did this questionnaire in all the studios that he visited and with all the people that he meets, and asked them, what is the biggest problem in gaming right now? Like, what do you personally think is the biggest problem? And he said he got like hundreds of different answers. Like, almost everyone had their own little personal approach to what the problem is with the video games industry. And it reaches from some people just saying woke, everything is woke, right? Wokeism is the big problem. Going all the way over to people saying like gaming fatigue. You know, people, we've played every single game, there's no innovation anymore, and hundreds of iterations in between of people just having their own little take on why the video games industry is in trouble. Now, undeniably, one aspect that has caused a lot of commotion and struggles within the world of video games, especially on the developer side and on the sales side, is toxicity. Toxicity in the world of video games as a whole, right? And again, you can have your own take on that. Maybe you think the toxicity that we're experiencing at the moment, where people hate on games and try to destroy their existence before the game even comes out, is justified, right? This is perfectly fine. But over the past years, we could witness such a dramatic increase in that toxicity that it goes too far every now and then, okay? And one example of where, in my opinion, my personal opinion, it goes a bit too far, is what's currently going on with Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ubisoft. Now, please don't get me wrong, I've made many videos about hating on Ubisoft in the past. I think they're a terrible developer. I think their games are flat, they're uninspired, they're boring to play, they're repetitive. They have fallen from grace what Ubisoft used to be. And I think that's perfectly fine, right? You can criticize a developer and you can say, I think personally this game does not look particularly good. The problem comes in when that toxicity goes that far, that developers personally are attacked, when the only reason really why you hate on this game is because there is a person of color in it, or maybe that some of the developers expressed that they support trans rights. You gotta understand, man, you don't have to buy the game, right? Like, just don't buy it. If you don't want to play a black character or whatever, like, just don't buy the game. If you don't support trans rights, just don't buy the game. But don't send these threats and stuff against these companies, against these developers. And that's where it goes a bit too far. And it feels like, someone tweeted this earlier, and I thought this was like very well put. It feels like for some, especially YouTubers, hating on games like Assassin's Creed, screaming woke, woke, woke and pronouns into their microphone is almost like a religion. That's what they base their whole identity on. That's everything they do. And in my opinion, that's pretty messed up. You know, I'm not looking forward to Assassin's Creed Shadows, to be honest. I don't think it looks particularly appealing. It has nothing to do with the protagonist. I think, to be honest, the art department, and I mentioned this countless times before, the art department at Ubisoft always does a great job. Like, visually, these games are stunning, and it does feel like Assassin's Creed Shadows has made a significant step forward when it comes to visuals, right? It looks somewhat good. Not as good as the Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotei games, in my personal opinion, but you know, that's a different story. But the problem, again, in my opinion, is a visual upgrade, better animations, and nicer textures and graphics is not what Assassin's Creed needs. Assassin's Creed needs a whole overhaul. We need to rethink this franchise from scratch. We can't always reuse climbing animations, and it can't always be the same game. They're selling us the same game with a new skin. That's how it feels. Okay, there are minor changes, right? I get it, but that's not how it works. Now, in the light of all this toxicity that has been put forward in the lead up to the game comes out in 2 days. Ubisoft has decided that it is time to strike back. And we get this news here. Ubisoft has reportedly, we don't know if this is true, but there are reports and it's trending on Twitter and nobody's really denying it, including Ubisoft. Ubisoft has reportedly enlisted a team of lawyers to sue players who harass Assassin's Creed Shadows developers. The question of what the studios means by harassment remains unanswered. And in the light of that news, loads of people are coming forward, and we get tweets like this from Lilith. And she says, true story, when Assassin's Creed Mirage came out, I was told to get R-word and K-word, right? You can read it on screen here. Because me and the team decided to have blue roofs on certain buildings and it wasn't completely accurate. So yeah, protect developers. So that's insane. Do you know what I mean? These are stories that often stay hidden behind the scenes because not everyone like Lilith comes forward and publicly tells these stories because people have NDAs and they don't want to do harm to the company. So you don't necessarily want to come out, communicate these kinds of stories, attach that kind of story to the game that you're working on because it's ridiculous. But like that level of harassment is just, that's wild, dude. It is wild to me that people go to that length and I'm sure there's loads of it in the shadow of like Assassin's Creed Shadows as well, where people sent these types of threats to developers. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan of Ubisoft, I said it before, but good on Ubisoft for striking back. Okay, like we don't need to tolerate that level of harassment and communication. And I feel it's been a sneaky slow process over the last 10 years or whatever, where it started with subtle hate and woke here, woke there. And now we've reached the point where it's pretty much normal. If you support trans rights, openly as the developers, or you have a person of color in your game, expect these types of threats against your developers. It's wild, and it is good that they're picking out certain people within the world of, video game journalists or video game YouTubers and sue them and make clear that that type of behavior is not right. It's not appropriate, and it is also not right to farm your clicks and build your channel around that type of hate. And Ubisoft is not the only company or entity who's currently trying to strike back against these kinds of stories, threats, allegations, misinformation. We also got this news a few days ago, okay? Bobby Kotick, obviously ex-CEO and head of Activision, files a defamation suit against media outlets over discrimination comments. This has been retweeted or shared by Grumps, which is ironic because many people say, Grumps is kind of one of the leading spearheading figures in the hate against Assassin's Creed Shadows. Look, man, I'm not following that man on Twitter, but I do see every now and then a tweet from him that gets retweeted or whatever, where he does say quite despicable things and inappropriate things but that's just my opinion. So he says, Bobby Kotick sues Kotaku for smearing him, Gizmodo too. So much for highest quality journalism, am I right, guys? God. So we see this trend evolving at the moment of video game companies, people like Bobby Kotick, right? Big personalities in the video games industry, fighting back against this form of defamation, this form of misinformation, because people did get away with it for a very long time. And it's just not right. And if you never put the hammer down, right, and you say, dude, this far and not further, nothing will ever change. It will just get worse and worse and worse. And I think if this is true, that Ubisoft is planning to sue some of these people, trying to make a point that this is not right and this can't go on, then maybe it will set somewhat of an example where then other people say, well, I'm going to be careful. I'm going to be cautious with hating on the developers. Look, man, we still have freedom of speech. You can come forward and say, I freaking hate Ubisoft. I think they're a horrible developer. This game they made is horrible. I didn't like that game. That's fine. Nobody can sue you over that. That's your opinion. That's your take. But the moment where these threats come in, the moment where your opinion is just based on that guy's skin pigmentation is slightly too dark, and in feudal Japan there were no people with, and that's why everything's horrible. Let me harass these developers. The moment where it becomes that territory, it's too far, it's messed up, and to be honest, it shouldn't exist. So I have to take Ubisoft's side on this one for once. And I hope it will make a change in the industry, because all that toxicity is awful. Beyond that, I don't see Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out in 2 days and being a big success. I'm very hyped for it, okay, in the sense that I want to read the reviews. I want to see where this is going to go. I'm not particularly excited to play the game, but I'm very, very excited to hear how it's received by the players and the gaming community. Because let's be honest, this is Ubisoft's big shot, okay? Star Wars Outlaws already, many people said, like, this is their final moment, right? If this game like bombs, then that's not good for Ubisoft as a whole. And if this game now bombs, this is they already delayed it, right? To give this extra layer of polish. If this game now bombs, well, Lord have mercy with Ubisoft. I don't know where they're going to go. They're already in talks with Tencent, allegedly, right? That they're being bought up and all that. We'll see where Ubisoft goes for now. Look, man, the main point is, it's not the developers' fault. They work crazy hours. They have management people wearing suits up their necks that make a lot of decisions that they just have to follow. These people just want to keep their job. Ubisoft already shut down a bunch of studios. People are losing their job left and right across the whole industry. It's not a good place to be in, being a game developer or environmental artist or whatever in the games industry at the moment. So don't project your hate for games onto developers, right? On these people who literally grind crazy hours with people in suits up their neck just to bring you the games that you can then hate. Just give it a little bit of like a proportional ethical compass reflection. That's not even a word, but you get the idea, right? Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Raise your voice against the game. Make clear why you don't like the game if you don't like it, but don't just root it in
Well, there was no person of color in feudal Japan. That's not accurate.
You know, as if any of the freaking Assassin's Creed games in the past would have been accurate, historically accurate. It's completely bizarre to make that claim. Anyway, guys, that's it. There's my little rant. I hope you enjoy it. Smash like, subscribe to the channel if you want more. I hope to see you in another one. You can also join our Discord. The link is in the description if you want to discuss this any further. And guys, I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Is it going to leave your thoughts on this down in the comments, really, right? Is it going to bomb? Is it going to do well? I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one. And I'm out. Bye.